It's not easy to walk away from a career you've spent years building, but sometimes it's necessary. The day I decided to quit medicine was the day I started to live for myself. So the entire fabric of society has changed. You may not see it in your day-to-day life, but everything behind the scenes is just different. Compared to 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 5, 10, 20 years ago, there's been massive changes. Now you can learn how to do anything at the tip of your fingers. You can drop everything, get a one-way flight, and live on a tropical island across the world. You can make a great living without ever leaving your house or even the beach. But many people just can't do that. They're stuck in a job that offers little flexibility, endless commutes, and reaches a ceiling of income very quickly. So given these circumstances, I decided to not apply to residency and just leave medicine altogether. And here is my experience. So let me take you to the start, before I was born. Let's say maybe the 80s. This is my mom and dad. My dad came to the USA as a kid, and after a lower income upbringing, he got into the grocery business himself at the young age of 18, avoiding any higher education. He worked endless hours to support me, an only child, and my mom, an immigrant from Greece who came here in her 30s. Like many foreign households, I was told that education was the path to success, and the more education, the better I would be. So which professions have the most education and also make a good living? You guessed it, doctors and lawyers. So this was burned into my brain from a young age, and I really don't blame my parents. They really just wanted the best for me. So if you go to school, get good grades, it's a pretty linear path to generally great living. So I always knew deep down that I would become a physician, but let's face it, I needed good grades to do this, which luckily wasn't too difficult for me. As a quiet, shy kid with wire glasses, I better be smart. Like many smart, wimpy kids, I was bullied growing up, and to make matters worse, I was also a bit sensitive. So this made it hard for me to put myself out there, but as I got older, I got into video games, and I was happy to hide behind a screen and make friends with random strangers on the internet, and they really couldn't see the wimp that I was. Soon puberty got the best of me, and I was insecure about how I looked, how I felt, every single day. I decided to change that and eventually began lifting weights. Seeing results and getting respect from my peers only reinforced this. From being nerdy and sensitive, I had a strong desire to be liked and fit in. As I got more respect, I did feel like I fit in more. Fitness eventually became my passion, and I thought it tied in perfectly with my future career path. It made sense that I went to undergrad, I crushed out the weed out classes, and slowly progressed toward med school. I studied hard for the MCAT to get into medical school, and eventually got accepted. The path was difficult, but it was rather simple, and I did enjoy a lot of it. I cultivated the value of really just enjoying the intellectual challenge in this time frame that medicine provided. I was a problem solver. A problem was handed to me, and then I worked to overcome it, and the joy because of that was insurmountable. I still kept up with lifting. I joined the powerlifting team at my school. I started a fitness social media page when I was a senior in college. By the time medical school started, I had around 40,000 followers. Now, medical school. I really did like the first 2 years of medical school. I was really excited to become a doctor, honestly. COVID hit the winter of my first year. This honestly made the first 2 years a breeze. Zoom classes, studying on my own time, at my own pace, whenever I wanted, I was thriving. I had the time to devote to my hobbies, staying fit, learning, and exploring a big city of Chicago where I lived. So third year eventually came around and the entire trajectory of my life changed. My first rotation of OBGYN began in April of 2021. This rotation was the first time I had the feeling that practicing medicine was just not for me. As I continued through my third year rotations, that feeling festered. After several years of pure autonomy, making my own schedule, having freedom, I was told where I had to be and when, was dismissed at an unknown hour daily, all while feigning interest at the rotation at hand just to get a good subjective evaluation. I thought I had it bad, but the residents I worked with often had it worse. They'd be there when I arrived, there when I left, spent overnight shifts several times a month. They had endless administrative work on their computer to put money in the pockets of a higher up administration. I truly did like helping people. I love talking to patients, interacting with them, and just seeing them get better. But as a medical student, you really are pretty limited. So during that summer in my second rotation, I began doing online personal training and coaching just to help people with their health and fitness, which had changed my life, several years prior and continues to this day. I had the following, I had the skills, I had been doing it informally for many, many years at the time. So I thought having some sort of income to try to pay for the obscene cost of medical school and be able to enjoy a little bit what I had in like a big city was the good move forward. And it was the one thing that actually gave me some enjoyment and fulfillment. I was actually having a positive impact and actually changing lives. So while I was having more enjoyment in one aspect of life, my medical studies became that much harder. Now I was balancing around 50 hours a week in the hospital with another 10 hours a week of studying, and often, 20 or 30 hours of content creation and coaching, which were my main, hobbies. On top of having a dog, girlfriend, now fiance, and also trying to have a social life. I had no time really for anything else. Sitting on the couch and relaxing rarely happened to me over the last few years. One thing that does get rarely mentioned in medicine is that concept of wasted youth. Spending your college years hustling to get into medical school, working through medical school to get to residency, and then working even more throughout residency to become an attending. A process that takes at least 11 years after high school, not to mention the hours put in during the process. I did miss many nights out, social gatherings, but my problem was more so with my own lack of purpose. After a while, I really didn't know why I was doing this. I loved the subject matter, I loved seeing patients, but the passion to practice medicine really was no longer there. Come my internal medicine rotation in the winter of 2021, it got a lot worse. I remember tears running down my face countless times on the drive to school, listening to motivational videos, hype up songs just to get me to push through my drive to start the day on a right note. I made it through pre-rounds in the hospital and often found myself holding tears in the bathroom as I waited for the day to progress. That happened every single day. I had no idea why. I felt trapped. I had to start an antidepressant at the time because I just wasn't functioning properly through my day. But I really wasn't even alone in that. Reports show that around 75% of medical students and residents take some sort of stimulant, antidepressant, or other psychiatric drug. The SSRI eventually made me not depressed, and I was able to see the situation a lot more clearly than I had previously. And the answer for me was simple. I really didn't want to do this for the rest of my life. Waking up early, going to work at a certain place at a certain time, coming home in time for dinner and a TV show, requesting time off weeks in advance just to make sure it could be accommodated, not to mention the mental toll. That was the endless administrative burden that doctors face. Medicine has kind of become an extension of corporate America, and I was obviously burned out. But again, I wasn't alone in this. I saw countless other students and doctors be broken down, physically and mentally, by a system that was not what they thought it would be. Every few weeks, we would get an email for administration about another resident or student unfortunately committing suicide, and all the wellness resources we had access to in case we were feeling similarly. Anyone who tries to speak out about any mistreatment is often silenced, and medical students go in expecting to become healers, but many often end up jaded and actual mental health sufferers themselves. And this is all because of the flawed system of medical training. I really did like medicine itself. I love the subject matter. I love interacting with colleagues, but what I did not like and did not want to be a part of was furthering this medical training. I saw residents, attendings, and other healthcare workers feeling the same way. One doctor I worked with was counting down the days until retirement, until he could get out of there. Several others were transitioning away from their clinical duties because the system was not giving them the satisfaction that it once did. Many switched to part-time to pursue their passions. Many didn't. They stayed stuck, unhappy, or unfulfilled. The debt burden was often too immense to turn back at the start, and now it seemed continuing was the only way forward for them. The average medical student does graduate with around $250,000 in student loan debt, which is a big number that keeps people trapped for a very long time. But many doctors find a specialty they love. They come to work happy, leave happy, they are thankful every day. I thought physical medicine and rehabilitation was the light at the end of the tunnel for me. The thought of this specialty really did get me through third year, and PM&R had a good lifestyle, a great group of people, and a subject matter that I really was most interested in. But after my rotation in mid-2022, I did like it, but I still just couldn't do it. Every day I'd count down the hours until I could leave, go home, and work on the things that would actually bring me joy, and that was building my business. It was at this point where I had to make a decision. Did I want to tough it out and go through residency, where you work 6 days a week, 60 hours a week at average, with around 15 to 20 vacation days a year for 4+ years straight? Or would this ruin my momentum with my growing social media, business, passions, and leave me stuck in something I didn't feel like I wanted to continue? What would I regret more? Quitting medicine to follow my dreams and passions in my business, or giving up my passions for the safer, more clear route? My choice is not pretty obvious. Unfortunately, I couldn't really talk about it. If word got out that I was considering not going to residency, and if I did go through with going to residency, programs could find out, considering I had a larger social media, and I would definitely ruin my chance already. My parents were definitely not pleased. This strained our relationship significantly. How crazy could I be to just give up a guaranteed good income, decent lifestyle, stable career, but practicing medicine just wasn't for me. I saw a therapist who helped me gather my thoughts much better, and throughout this time, I worked endlessly on growing and perfecting my online coaching business. I scheduled a bunch of online rotations just to give myself a bit more free time and hustled morning and night. I made my transformation program as good as it possibly could be. Eventually, I proved to myself, my friends, my family, that I could succeed outside of medicine. And I was comfortable financially to make that leap. Not a single doctor or resident or classmate told me I was making a mistake when I opened up to them. Doctors at the end of my rotations would say, yeah, the system has changed, or, 10 years ago, I would say you're crazy, but now I support it. Classmates would tell me, damn, I wish I could do that. Or, that takes balls, but if anyone could do it, it's you, Christian. Another one was like, yeah, man, medicine is actually awful. Good for you getting out of this awful career. This inspired me to keep going and not look back. You see, we are in a day and age where you are programmed to go to school, find a job, be a part of the workforce, save until retirement, retire, then hopefully be able to think and walk to enjoy it. That would not be me. I felt like I was at the point where for the amount of effort, stress, and time I put in medicine, I could be much happier, have more free time, be more financially successful, just doing something else. I needed the freedom. I needed the autonomy. I wanted to be in control of my future, have the flexibility to work where I want and when. Medicine just was not me anymore. I had grown other parts of my character that just took me to a different path. I was addicted to working on my businesses, building them up, troubleshooting, and I have some incredible things in store in the coming year. So look out for my deeper dive into the healthcare space and making it a better experience for everyone, medical trainees, healthcare workers, and even patients. Hello. So while editing this at the nice bright 9 p.m. on a Friday night, I felt like I didn't really do justice on what the heck I'm actually doing after not going to residency and continuing on with medicine. So long story short, I'm going to break it down into a few different topics and what I'm going to be doing. So first is continuing with my coaching program. I've rebranded it and called it Doctor's Orders Coaching now. Hope you like that one. So basically I want to make it an all-encompassing overall health and fitness coaching program. So going to be including a lot more health-based topics and guidance as well, hopefully bringing on more coaches in the future and just making it as best as it can be, because that is what gave me that bridge to get away from medicine. So next I am working on a program for burned out healthcare professionals on making a living doing other things and just improving their overall mental well-being and things like that. Don't want to go into too much detail about that one. That's going to be releasing pretty soon, so I'll be talking a lot more about it. So next I'm going to be working on a community for more overall self-improvement. So a group of people that are focused on improving their health, their fitness, their business, wealth, relationships, family, things like that. So a group and a course almost to do that and just become a better person. I feel like there's a lot of negativity out there in the world, a lot of people falling into negative traps. So I want to break away from that, create a group that is inspired and just becoming their better selves. I'm also working on a telemedicine-based clinic. This one definitely takes a lot of work. So I'm much more interested in the business side of things, overlooking and running rather than being the doctor that is doing the work, more so just picking out different pieces. And I feel like this kind of ties into overall self-improvement. So I was a very big self-improvement kind of person. As I mentioned in the video, I was kind of nerdy growing up, kind of bullied. So I felt like self-improvement was finding flaws in myself and building them up. And in the same way, building businesses and working in business is like building something, finding different flaws in the business, fixing them, and then just making the business as best as it can be. So another different way of self-improvement. So that's the long story short of what I'm going to be doing. So I hope that explained things a little bit more, and thank you for watching the video. Now I understand that this was a rather negative view on medicine and my experience, but this isn't to dissuade anyone from being a doctor. This was through the lens of my experience and personal values. Most doctors, truthfully, they love what they do. Many medical students find the stress and the success behind it very rewarding. It takes a special kind of person. My path is very risky going into the physician entrepreneur space, but it does have the potential to be infinitely more rewarding for me, and that is a risk I'm willing to take. The first day of medical school, they told us not to worry about not knowing which specialty we will do. By the end of medical school, you'll fit into one and it'll just make sense. But for me, it clearly was none of them at all. Thank you for watching my video. If you did like the video, toss a like, leave a comment letting me know your thoughts, how you feel about medicine and the healthcare system, and be sure to subscribe for more overall self-improvement videos and just becoming the better you. If you ever have any questions about anything career, medical school, or my own experience, my Instagram DMs are always open. And on top of that, if you'd like more information on my transformation coaching program, feel free to fill out an application in the description. And I appreciate you watching this video, and I'll talk to you next time.